For the next few videos, we'll be addressing the question, who is Paul? And we're in Romans chapter 1, reading verses 1 through 7 today. And it reads, Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God, which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures, concerning his Son, Jesus Christ our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh, and declared to be the Son of God with power according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead, by whom we have received grace and apostleship for obedience to the faith among all nations for his name, among whom are ye also the called of Jesus Christ. To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from our God, and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Hello everyone, I'm Carol and welcome to Uplifting Home. And in this video, we're going to make a very comforting meal, all in a casserole. So this casserole is called Cordon Bleu Carnivore, or you can actually also make it just as an everyday meal of vegetables mixed in, or a side salad, or however you'd like to serve it. But it's a casserole, and cordon bleu is a French term that means blue ribbon. And this blue ribbon, or this cordon bleu, came from French or from the Swiss. And what it is normally when you make it the full meal, it is usually a flattened chicken breast or a veal or a pork cutlet filled with cheese and ham. Usually the cheese is Swiss or Gruyere. And then it's rolled up and breaded, fried, or baked. And all these flavors are so comforting. And so we want to take this opportunity to share with you a casserole that we have had during our months of being a carnivore, and also give you some ideas of how we tweaked it along the way every now and then to be a more traditional meal as well. So comfort in a casserole. I'd also like to thank a carnivore chef here on YouTube for inspiring me to have this be one of our rotation meals in our carnivore journey, and one that I will certainly keep on hand for every occasion. And the link to his channel, which is a very good creative carnivore chef, I'll put the link to his channel and to this specific Cordon Bleu casserole in the description box below. So now let's get started. It's fast and easy and oh so delicious. I also wanted to mention that the recipe that we are creating today together is a lower sodium version, and we will talk about that as we go along in preparing the recipe. Our oven is preheating at the moment to 350 degrees, and I've also greased my bacon casserole dish with bacon drippings. And this will allow the casserole to have a slight flavor of that delicious bacon without actually adding the chopped crispy bacon. Now you can add the crispy bacon, and I may mention that as I go along, but this is just one of those tips to cut down a little bit of the sodium. So my baking dish, you can do this casserole in several different sizes, depending on how thick you would like the casserole to be. This particular dish measures about 8 by 12. That's going to make a fairly thin casserole. If you want it thicker, you could bake it in something like a 8 by 8 or a 9 by 9, something like that. But this is what we have prepared already. This recipe comes together very easily, simply, and quickly. So we have a large mixing bowl, and to that mixing bowl, we're going to add 1 pound of cubed chicken breast. This is cooked already. I just simply bake this with just a little bit of water in the bottom of my baking dish in that 350-degree oven until the internal temperature read around 160, and then cooled it and chopped it into these little cubes. You can add some spices to your chicken breast as you're cooking it. I did not today, but I am going to add some spices to our casserole, but I'll tell you about that when we get there. So this is 1 pound of cubed cooked chicken breast. So right into the bowl it goes. And then we're going to add 4 ounces of a low sodium ham. Now this is about half as much as the original recipe calls for. So this is going to lower our sodium level even more. So 4 ounces of low sodium ham. And it is also cubed into these tiny little cute cubes here. So in that goes. And next we're going to add 4 ounces of a cubed Swiss cheese. Now, Swiss cheese is a lower sodium cheese naturally, but you can use other types of cheeses. And I do want to mention here that this is a good time to point out that the sauce that you can add to this casserole, you can use some more traditional flavors. Like you could use a cheese sauce like you would make for macaroni and cheese, and give it that flavor of a homemade macaroni and cheese. Or you could use a homemade Alfredo sauce in this to give that that sort of flavor as well. But we're trying today to stick to a lower sodium and also to the traditional flavors of the cordon bleu. So 4 ounces of a Swiss cheese. Now the recipe also said you could use Gruyere cheese if you preferred to do that. Then next we're going to add a 1/2 cup of a grated Parmesan cheese. So I've just grated some up here. You also want enough to sprinkle on top, so make some extra. And I'm just going to do it like that, just while it's real fluffy, and just sprinkle that in. So that's about a 1/2 cup, but again, it's your choice on exactly how much you use. Now next, I'm personally today going to add some cream cheese, simply because I have about a 1/4 cup of cream cheese here left that needs to be used up. So I'm going to cut this kind of in cubes and add it in here as well. Now we've added a 1/2 cup of carnivore mayonnaise and 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. Dijon mustard is a traditional flavor in the original cordon bleu recipe. So if you like Dijon, you could add a little more. If you didn't like it, you could cut back or either leave it completely out. The carnivore mayonnaise recipe is on a video that I have created, and I'll link that in the description box below. Now, because I didn't add any spices to my baked chicken when it was baking, I'm going to add a few. Now, if you're going strictly by carnivore, you would not use the spices normally, I don't believe, but I've got my homemade poultry spice blend here. I don't have very much left, but I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit, and I also have a video on this poultry seasoning mix. I'll link anything that I can in the description box below. Then I'm going to add some black pepper and some garlic powder. Now I have added onion, fresh onion, just sliced up onion or diced, either way, to this casserole. That's delicious as well. But like I said, if you're going to want to be strict carnivore, you wouldn't add any vegetables or any spices, anything like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do at this point, because my mayonnaise was a little bit watery, it was at the bottom of the jar, I'm going to go ahead and stir this up to see how much liquid is needed. Okay, so I can see that it's pretty dry. So we're going to go ahead and add our 1/3 of a cup of heavy whipping cream. Now I've got a cup here because you want to have extra on hand in case you need a little more. So I'm going to pour it down to where it says 2/3 of a cup. That way I know I've added 1/3 of a cup. It's about right there. Now I'm going to give it another stir. You want enough liquid to make a nice sauce, but you don't want it too watery. When it bakes, it will kind of melt together and create a little more moisture. Okay. This is the way mine looks at that point. I think I want just a little bit more liquid. Remember, this is going to make our sauce. So I'm going to add probably another 1/3 cup, so 2/3 total. And let me get a larger spatula here. Oh yeah, much easier. Okay, so this looks better. Now, if you wanted to make a full meal, a traditional meal out of this, you could add a few frozen peas, or you could add some chopped broccoli. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you could do. You could add some mushrooms, just all kinds of things. You could change up and add different cheeses and different cheese sauces like we mentioned earlier, just all kinds of things. But we want to keep as much of the original flavors today for our recipe together, and have it as much as we can like the original cordon bleu. Okay, so there it is. It's ready for our prepared baking dish. So now we're just going to pour it into our casserole dish. Remember, we have coated the dish with bacon drippings. And we want to scrape all of that sauciness out of the bowl. So give me just a minute and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got all the sauce out of the bowl, and now I'm going to spread it out evenly in our baking dish. And remember, if you add vegetables to this, you're going to want a larger baking dish. This baking dish, like I said, is going to make it fairly thin. I enjoy having the little squares or the scoops of casserole be thinner, and kind of makes it feel a little bit more crispier, I think. But if you like it thicker, you can have it thicker. But if you do add vegetables, onions or peas or broccoli or asparagus, anything like that, you do want to kind of take that into consideration for the size of your baking dish. Now I'm going to scrape this extra sauce off of this spatula because it's gold. So now we have another 4 ounces of cubed Swiss cheese. We're going to go ahead and just put that on top here. I'm going to do it with this hand so maybe you can see it better. I love cooking in the kitchen. Every timeless home should have just a whole array of fun activities from the kitchen. Making things homemade, making them taste good with good, clean ingredients. Food that will actually nourish your body and satisfy your cravings is such a wonderful thing. So here we are. We have sprinkled on our 4 ounces, our second 4 ounces of cubed Swiss. Now we want to take some more of, bring this in where you can see better, more of our grated Parmesan, and we're just going to put that right on top. Again, I'm going to do it with this hand so you can see better. Now this has plenty of fat in it, but if you wanted, you could also sprinkle on some cubed butter on top. And this would add even more fat if you was trying to get that certain amount of fat into your diet. Okay, so I would say altogether that was probably about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of fluffy grated Parmesan cheese. Now our casserole is ready for the oven. And like I said, you could also add some crispy bacon on top or mix crispy bacon into the mixture. There's all kinds of things that you can do. So we're going to put this into a 350-degree oven for about 20 to 30 minutes. This is a beautiful winter day here at Uplifting Home, and creating a timeless home with all those aromas that's drifting out of the kitchen into the home, into the rest of the house, right? It's just a welcoming thing to create for your home. Okay, it's been 20 minutes and let me show you what it looks like here. You see it nice, it's nice and bubbly. So what we want to do is, it's nice and hot right now, so I'm going to put in an extra rack up here and turn the broiler on, and we're going to get that top nice and brown. So everything in our casserole is already thoroughly cooked, so we don't have to worry about that. So really what we want is to first get it bubbly hot all the way through, and then place that under the broiler to get that nice brown crispy top. Don't walk away from your broiler. Stay right here with it so you can keep an eye on how quickly it's browning, because it can burn very quickly. Depending on the heat of your broiler, what it's set on, and how close the actual dish is to the heat source. So be sure, stay right here watching. The broiler is a very helpful, useful tool, but we need to have a very strong respect for it and how quickly things can go very wrong. So here we are watching it brown. Isn't that beautiful? And right here is where I'm going to stop ours today. Now, depending on what type of cheese that you put on top and how much liquid is actually in your casserole, it affects how brown your casserole will get on top. But this looks perfect for us today. Now, this is extremely hot at the moment, and we're going to allow it to cool about 30 minutes. As it cools, it will solidify and become more solid, more dippable, or more cuttable into squares, whichever way you choose to serve it. So we're going to allow this to rest about 30 minutes. Meanwhile, we're going to cut up some crispy iceberg lettuce. Iceberg lettuce I love to get into my diet whenever I can. It's wonderful to help us to eliminate unwanted retained water and to cut down on the swelling in the ankles and in the face and the hands. So no matter what they say about the nutritional value being so low in iceberg has its place, and I love to incorporate that crispy crunch whenever possible. Okay, it's been about 35 minutes, and I'm going to see if I can slice us a piece here to try. So as you can see, it's not as watery now, and we can just slice what we need. And I'm going to loosen up the edges here a bit, just like that. And then go in with my spatula and clean fingers. Ah, there it is. Isn't that beautiful? Hope you can see that okay. And then we're just going to put it right here on top of my iceberg lettuce. Just like that. Now, let's give it a try. Okay, here's what it looks like, and oh man, it smells so good. You see all that? It is so beautiful. What a comforting meal. So I'm going to try to take a bite without using my knife, which is, no, gotta have a knife. Cut that crispy topping. Okay, here's that perfect bite. Do you see that topping? Whoa! Flavor everywhere. Okay, so here we go. Mmm. Wow. That is absolutely delicious. This is the recipe you're going to have to try. And if you're not strictly carnivore, that crispy lettuce is absolutely delicious with it. It adds that texture of crunch. The casserole has a richness of cheese flavor, and it also has the ham, slight bacony flavor, and of course, the rich creaminess of the cream and the little bit of cream cheese we put in there, the Parmesan. It's absolutely delicious. Now let me explain to you what to leave out if you're using another sauce. So as we spoke a little bit in the video, that you can actually create this dish with traditional flavors, such as our homemade macaroni and cheese sauce, or our homemade Alfredo sauce, the white sauce, any of those homemade cheese sauces go perfectly with this combination. And of course, like we said also in the video, you can add any vegetables, any spices, anything you like. But if you're sticking strictly to the carnivore animal products only, you would stick to those ingredients, those basic ingredients. You would leave out the spices and leave out any vegetables or anything like that. Now, if you're using a homemade sauce, like a cheese sauce, Alfredo sauce, the type things that you would use in other cheese dishes, what you would want to do is to kind of eyeball the water content and kind of keep in mind how much liquidy that particular sauce is going to make the casserole. And you're going to want to leave out, if it's quite liquidy, you want to leave out the mayonnaise, I'm looking down at my recipe list here. You'd want to leave out the mayonnaise. You'd want to leave out the heavy cream. You just don't need that with your homemade cream sauces added to it, or your homemade cheese sauces, I should say. And you can also use a basic cream sauce in here, you know, like a gravy type base sauce. That would be delicious as well. You would also want to possibly leave out the Dijon mustard. You probably would not want that flavor unless you just like that addition. You probably, if you was going to make it to where it tastes kind of like macaroni and cheese, you may not want that Dijon mustard. Or if you even wanted to make it taste like a chicken Alfredo, you may not want that Dijon mustard flavor in there. So you would leave out, if you put one of your homemade sauces in there, you would leave out possibly the mustard. You'd leave out the heavy cream unless you just needed the extra moisture. Let's see. And you would leave out the carnivore mayonnaise. So other than that, you would be all set if you made this a macaroni and cheese flavor, or if you made it a chicken Alfredo, or just a cream sauce base from a gravy base, like we make a lot around here. Okay, so I hope you will enjoy this lower sodium version of a cordon bleu casserole that we've made together today. It has been in our meal rotation for several months now, and we love it every time, and we've loved it every way I've prepared it. So here you go. You've got another meal in your rotation. Love you guys. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye now.